Agricola. Chapter 32. We're in quotation marks. And, which is a question meaning whether, eandam, the same in accusative demonstrative pronouns, Romanus in bello virtutem. So, eandam and virtutem are the accusative. So, whether the same valor or virtues in bello, in war, quam, as in parce, in peace, lasciviam, compared to virtutem, ad esse creditus. So what it's saying is whether creditus, you believe, ad esse, there is at hand, for the Romans, Romanis, the same valor in war, quam, as which there is lascivia, which is wantonness in peace. So the Romans have the same valor in war that they have for lust in peace. Nostris, which is ours, illi, it looks plural, dissensionibus ac discordis clari. So, illi clari, it's these famous things, nostris to us, in our dissensions and discords, the vitia hostium, this is the faults of the enemy, in gloriam exercitus sui virtunt. So, it is these famous dissensions and discords, the vices of our enemy, which are virtunt, which are turned into gloria, into glory for our army, to our army, exercitus sui. Quem, which, contractum, which means brought together, contracted, ex diversissimus gentibus. This is from the most diverse races, or from the very different races, are contracted and brought together, so that secundae res, this looks plural nominatives, so that in favourable matters, secunda res, or favourable circumstances, tenent, they held together. So our armies are brought together from very different types of races, and the favourable outcomes are holding it together, and ita, thus, adverse, in adversities plural, dissolvent. You can see that's plural again, as tenent is plural, and dissolvent. So the favourable matters are tenant, holding it, and the adverse ones are dissolving it, or making them lose heart. Nisi, so unless, see if, Gallos in Germanos is the Gauls and the Germans in the accusative plural, and et pudet dictu, dictu's a supine ablative, so it is shameful in the saying, or it's shameful to say. Plerosque means many or most of, Britorum, this is the genitive plural. So unless if the Gauls and the Germans, and it's shameful to say most of the Britons, licit, we'll take this as a conjunction here, meaning although dominati aliene sanguine commodorant. This is a type of lending. They'll lend their sanguine, their blood, to alien dominations, to outside masters, basically. Dituius is comparative. For a rather long time, Tama nevertheless, hostis quam servus. So they've been they've been enemies than slaves. Hostis is a I stem of the third declension. Fide, with loyalty and affectations, tenere, they are held. Putatis. So this would go back to the beginning. Do you think that unless the Gauls and the Germans and most of the Britons, if you can put it together like that. Okay, so we'll make our daily dictionary word, commodo. So that's to lend or to hire, provide or bestow, adapt or accommodate. As you've seen, we see the adverb in other cases as well, which is a good word to know. So, they've been lent out to these alien masters, which are the Romans, and they've used loyalty and general liking to be held. Metos and terror sunt. So fear and terror, sunt, are infirma vinculas. This means weak chains or bindings, caritatis, of dearness. Quae, which, ubi, when, removerus, when you remove them, qui, those who deserent, those who desist in timere, in fearing, odisse, to hate, incipient, they will begin to hate. Omne, so that's everything, incitamenta, omnia incitamenta, so everything which is incitement to victory, victoria, or of victory, Pro nobis sunt. They are pro nobis. These are for us. These are beneficial to us. Nulle, which means none. Romanos conjunctis excedunt. So there are no Roman spouses, no wives, which will kindle them or make a start to make them burn. So and there are nullae, no parents. Fugam ex probraturi sunt. So this is a future. So there'll be no parents to reproach them in flight. So if you want to take that all as one section, the Romans don't have their wives there to be burning for them, to kindle them, and there aren't parents there chewing them out when they flee. Porkos, accusative plural, so there are few, numero, in number. That's the ablative. Trepidos, going with porkos, it's accusative plural. They're in trepidation, they're a bit fearful in ignorance. So they're few in number, trepidatious in their ignorance, or they don't know exactly what's going on. The caelum itself, the sky itself, ac and mare, and the sea, and silvus, and the woodlands. Ignota omnia circumspectantis. So this is the plural form of a present participle in the ablative. So everything is unknown to these. It might be dative actually, to those who were standing around, circum and looking. Clausos quadam modo, and victos de nobis traderant. So here's the gods in the nominative. The gods are handing them over, nobis, to us, vinctos. So they're tied up. Remember, there's porkos, accusative plural, trepidos, accusative plural, and vinctos, accusative plural. In this clausos quadam way. So quadam just means it's the certain people who are clausos. These are shut off in this way, and the gods have handed them over to us bound. Ne teriat. We can see that's a second conjunction subjunctive. Terra is a negative thing, so we have aspectus. That's the site. Varnus is empty. So they're seeing an empty site, which you could say they're scared of, but we'll just continue on. And the fulgor of gold and silver. So there are empty terrors which they can have in a sight, and the shine of gold and silver, neither can they take it, touch, nor vulnerate, nor will it wound, basically. Okay, so gold can't help them. And in ipsa hostium ace, so in the battle line, the ace ipsa itself of the enemy, hostium, the genitive, in venemus we shall find nostras menos, handfuls of our own, basically. Britanni, the Britons, plural nominative, they will agnoscrant, they will recognise suam causam, our cause is their own, basically. Recordabuntur Galli, so the Gauls, plural, they will recordabuntur, they will remember the priori libertatum, their prior freedoms. Tam, we'll hold that for a while, deserrent illos ceterige Germani. So this is the rest of the Germans, they will desert illos those, tamquam, just as Nupa recently, the Usipi relinquent, they left. Okay, so the Usipi have deserted recently. Nec quicquam, neither is there anything ultra beyond 4 medinas, which should be dreaded, basically, is what it means. Vacua castles means empty castles or forts. Senum coloniae, so we'll take the colonies in plural of senexes, of old men. So the colonies of old men, these empty forts, inter male, amongst these bad or evil, parentis, those obeying, and in just imparentis, and those who unjustly giving orders, agra, which means difficulties. So these are municipios, these are towns which have difficulties and discordantia. Hic dux, here is our general. Hic exercitus, here's our army. Ibi, there, on the other side. Tributa, it's tribute, and metalla, these are the mines where they get their metals, gold, silver, and iron. And cetra, the rest, servientium poena, the rest of the punishments of slavery, basically. These are those who are serving, servientium. Cause, which perferre in aeternum, which you can carry on in perpetually into eternity, or start him immediately, Alkiski. This is a deponent. You can get your revenge in here campo in this plain here. Proindi. So then, Ichuri, this is a future for plural people, go on, inacim, into the battle, and maiores vestros and posteros cogitate. Cogitate, say, imperative. Plural, so it's saying, so then go into the battle line, think about maiores vestros, your ancestors, and posternos. These are your future offspring or your descendants. 33. Ex capere, so received orationem, this oration, alacres, with enthusiasm. It's plural, so this oration was received enthusiastically, ut as in the mores, in the customs barbarus, as in the barbarian custom. Fremitu, this is with a large din or shouting, and cantu and singing, and clemoribus dissonant. So this is dissonant shouting. Yamqui, and so an ag minor, these are columns, and amarum fulgonis, and the shining of arms, the glittering of arms. The audentissimi, the superlative plural, the most bold, cuisqui, of them procursu. Cursus, they were running, and pro means forwards. So the most bravest of them ran forwards. Simul, at the same time, in Sturbator, the Akis. So these battle lines were drawn up. They were in Sturbator. Cum Agricola, when Agricola, quam, although, latum, which means happy, it's in the accusative, so it's not Agricola who's happy. Although happy and vic scarcely munimentis coercitum. So here's the militum. The militum are the soldiery, and they are the ones who are latum. So although the military was happy and was scarcely able to be coerced, which is checked or held back, munimentis in their fortifications, accendendum. This is a gerund, verbal noun. Ad hoc, he was still ratus thinking. So Agricola is doing the ratus. Agricola is doing the thinking. He was thinking as they were going to go forwards, and he was scarcely holding them back, that something else should happen. Ita thus disverit. This is when you speak aloud. So thus, before letting them go out, he gave them another address. Septimus annus 7 years, he says, comiliones, fellow soldiers. He's vocating them here. He's calling them. Roman years are inclusive, so this would be 6 years in English time. But 7 years, fellow soldiers, ex quo virtu, from this virtues and auspicis imperii Romanae, and for the auspices of the Roman Empire. Fide and opera vestra, with loyalty and your works, your opera, vincistis, you have conquered, that's a perfect, Britannia, you've conquered Britain. Tot expeditionibus, so in so many expeditions or campaigns, this is ablative, tot prolis, and in so many battles, we'll have to use in there, siu, which means either in adverse fortitudine hostis, so an adverse outcome, as you might want to say the fortitude is, so in adverse conditions of the enemy, or patienta and labore, so with patience or suffering and labour, almost adverse as ipsam rerum nature, so almost against the nature itself in matters. Opus fuit. Opus est means something is needed, so this would mean something was needed. Nequi me militum, nequi vos ducus pain etuit. So this means regret. So nequi, so neither have I regretted my militum, my soldieries, and neither have you have regretted your general, your ducus. And so looks like nothing was needed and there were no regrets. Ergo, therefore, egressi. This is a plural for going out. I, veterum legatorum, so I have gone out from the old delegates, from the old embassies, and vos you, here we have contrasting, priorum exercitium termus, and you have gone out of the prior boundaries of armies. Finem Britanniae, so this is the ends of Britain, the boundaries of Britain. Non fama nec rumore, so not in reports nor rumours said, but with castris, with camps and armis. But with camps and arms, tenemus, we hold it. So this is how they hold the ends of Britain. Not by speculation and rumours, but by forts and armed men. equidem. Usually it's a first person for quidem, which means indeed or even. Sapi, often in agmine, in the columns, in the lines of marchings. Cum, when, vos, you, paludes, marshes, we have the V enclitic, and mountains, and flumen and rivers, fatigarant. So here's our verb. So often in the columns of marching or marching man, when you have been fatigaranted, vos is plural, fatigarant, with the marshes and mountains and rivers have fatigued vos, fatigued you. Fortissime, the most brave Quis of these, most bravest of these, voces, the voices, audiber. It's an imperfect. So I've heard the voices of the most bravest of you. That's probably what it's saying. Quando, dabitur hostis. So when will the enemy, dabitur, be given? It's a passive. Hostis is an I stem, so sometimes this can be an accusative plural or singular nominative. So when will the enemy be given, and quando in manus venerate. So when shall they come into our hands, into our manus?